about wasting time, laying around the house all day, but I'm all right now. I'm all right now. Look, it's James Reyne.
Across the bay. These fly-blown songs are slow companions, what the march of time done stole away. She said to something's wrong with him. She don't want to cry, she just wants to know why.
I'm here with Rick Brewster, the other member of the Angels, the quintessential rock family. Have you got anything you'd like to say about Chris Bailey?
Chris Bailey, the grass is always greener. That was Chris.
He was
exceptional bass player, exceptional human being, and he was here tonight with us.
The presence was definitely felt by a few that I've spoken to.
Oh yeah, what a guy.
So the past, the future remains, and hell, flame by flame, let you relive exceptional shame. Would you do it again?
I'm here with Rob from Swanee, and he's got a really wicked story about Chris Bailey, so tell us all about it.
Well, it's sort of an unusual thing. About 22 years ago, I think, I was in Adelaide and I was about to go to Tokyo to play in World Song Contest. And Chris Bailey from the Saints was a guest speaker at this particular conference I was going to. And I thought, Chris Bailey from the Saints, whatever. And then I flew to Tokyo and did this gig, and we're all at Narita Airport about to fly out from Tokyo. And Chris Bailey, bass player, is standing at the departure lounge with his bass guitar. I'm thinking, what's Chris Bailey doing in Narita Airport, So we just went up and introduced ourselves. We didn't really know him. And he said, I said, what are you doing in Japan? He goes, I've just finished doing a tour with Billy Joel. I said, what do you mean? He said, Billy Joel's bass player got sick. And I got hired to do the Australian tour, and then he liked me, so he took me to Japan. So anyway, the story basically is that I before I left Australia, I saw a Chris Bailey from history doing a talk, and then when I left Japan, I saw another Chris Bailey. So it's just a weird coincidence of life.
Small world, I guess.
Of freak of nature.
And we've been joined by the man himself, Swanny.
With John Swan, my brother.
Have you got any stories about the main man, Chris Bailey? Any cool little antics?
In all honesty?
In all honesty.
He was the most gentle soul and kindest man, and from the day I met him, we've never had a bad word. That covers a lot of territory, because we've been together, Alberts and, Red House, Headband, like lots and lots of bands. He was just a beautiful man, and he was beautiful to everybody he met. My wife, she adored him, because how some men are just
a good character.
They don't chase women. They treat women like ladies. That was him all the way, right to the very end.
True gentleman of rock and roll.
Absolutely, and there's not too many of them.
Yeah, there is.
You're talking to one of them right now, though.
We're going to kick some ass for a friend. This one's called Hold Your Head Up High.
you marry me anyway? Save my love from loneliness. Save my love from sorrow. What am I supposed to do? What am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? So, if I were to come baby, 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 if I were to come what am I gonna do? If I were to carpenter, if I were a carpenter, yeah, yeah, yeah. Watch it. Yeah. Stand at your fire, you can change your side. Don't you know that it can if you forget you're a man? Stand at your fire, you can change your side. Don't you know that it can if you forget you're a man? You're a man, you're a man.
I'm standing here with the one who leads himself astray, Robert from Gajang, and he's got a pretty cool little story about Chris Bailey, a former member of Gajang.
Do I? No. There's so many stories. Oh, there's 30 years of stories.
That's right.
Oh, God, where do I start? Chris is just, I don't know, it's so hard to speak of him as not being here. Like, just even looking at this thing is so weird for us because it's like losing a family member. Basically, I've had more breakfasts with Chris Bailey than I have with my family. So
Yeah, that's
it
crazy.
shows
Isn't
how
it?
close we are in 30 years. You know, it's just an amazing night to all of us guys, everyone here tonight has started out in Adelaide. I'm not sure if James Reyne did. I don't think he's from Adelaide, but everybody's playing tonight. We all started out here, went off and did what we did, and now here we are, over 40 years later, playing at this show to honour one of us that's left us, and it's quite a moving night. It was so weird to play tonight without Chris.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's almost like a hometown hero rendition, everyone coming back to pay tribute to one of their own.
Absolutely, and Chris was loved by everybody, as you can tell by the turnout, and everybody's come to play for him. And I just feel honoured that I spent 30 years with him. It's just unbelievable.
Well, you guys sounded awesome tonight, so I'm sure he'd be proud looking down on you guys.
Yeah, he would be up there because Chris was a true professional, like stickler for rehearsing, get everything perfectly right. So tonight we actually did the gig with a different bass player, which I'd never met before, and we had no rehearsal. So
Bit out of the norm, but you
he
definitely all pulled it off.
He did a great job, absolutely amazing job, and Chris would be up there going, thank God for that, because he really worried about the reputation of Gajang. So he loved Gajang as proof to the 30 years, and he managed Gajang as well. So he'd often say that the Angels was his job. Probably get in trouble for saying this, but Angels was his job, whereas Gajang was his band.
Yeah. When you're loyal to something,
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
can have a lot of projects, but your heart's going to lie somewhere, isn't it?
I forgot to say at the end of the gig, see you at the bar in 5 minutes, because Chris would always say that at the end of the gig to the audience, see you at the bar in 5 minutes. So
a real down-to-earth kind of guy.
it's just beautiful. He's very humble, just never sort of put himself forward, never bragged about all his achievements. He was almost sort of downplayed his achievements. It's just amazing man. I really can't relate to him not being here. And he is the first of all of us to sort of go. So he's
Extremely sad circumstances, but at
it's
least
making all of us quite aware of our own mortality now.
At least we've given him a really great tribute night, and I'm sure his
Absolutely.
family will be really pleased
I
with
think,
it.
yeah, Josie's and Ollie, and it's beautiful to see his little son here. His first child he's ever had. And he's only, just a little boy, and they've raised $100,000. So
That's
it's
great.
just wonderful. Oh, it's just
Well, thanks for being a part of it and also for being in the interview.
pleasure. I hope I did okay. I've had a few drinks.
It's Gajang.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Let me just say right out now, a huge shout out to John and to Rick Brewster for this evening. Thank you, John. Thank you, Rick. This is so fantastic for Chris's family. And I just want to say one thing. What the fuck is it about Adelaide? What is it? I mean, look at this lineup. Barnsey, the Angels, the Easy Beats. It's unbelievable. And I'm not from Adelaide, but everybody else in my band is. And I know this town because they always talk about it. I know all the venues, we've driven around, I know everything. This is for Chris, God love you, Chris. It's a song called Give Me Some Love.
Like I always thought it would. A madman dancing in the streets and fires rage. Give me some loving, what I need. Give me a little loving, makes me feel right. Give me some loving, that's the way. Give me a little loving, makes me.
Thank you. Well, we all know that Chris Bailey likes to rock out. But Chris likes some country, he likes some soul. And Chris loved the reggae groove. This is a song that was co-written by Chris. This is called Trust.
You can see it in my eyes. You gotta take it on trust. We don't need no witness. You gotta take it on trust. We don't need no lawyers. No, take it on trust. We don't need no handshake between us, baby. Take it on. Take it on trust. Yeah. And in the distance, I feel the haze. The cowboys are silent, the cattle graze. A certain texture, that certain beats. Rings fall, the nighttime beat. Out on the patio, rain sets, and the humidity, wave green. We was a lightning, like all the king feels a lot that day since I was 10 years.
Tonight with Chris. He was our friend, And we loved that guy for 29 years. And 40 in Buzz's case, and 42 in Jeff's case. And we're going to miss him, huh? Thank you for coming out.
As Chris would say, let's let us swim for a while.
Well, I feel a little bit special here. I'm standing in between two of Australia's rock gods, Mr. Dave Gleeson and Rockin' Rob Riley.
Hey.
And I'm guessing that you guys
We
have
feel
some...
a bit special too.
I don't know about that.
I am a bit special.
We're all here for one reason, and that's to pay tribute to another Aussie icon, Chris Bailey, the former bass player of the Angels. So have you guys got any cool stories about Chris Bailey or any off-stage antics that he used to have?
I'll let Rob go first
Because Dave's got tons, he'll talk for hours, you know. I had many a really good stiff joint with Chris and a few drinks as well. And he was a good mate. It was fantastic fun. Always a very, very lovely man. Loved him dearly.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty nice dude from what I'm hearing from everyone. What about you, Dave? You got any cool stories about him?
Well, I only got to meet him over the last few years since I've been with the Angels. I'd come across him in band rooms and met him and, press the flesh. But to hang out with him was a great time. We went to Japan together and had a good laugh, and he was always up for a laugh. And I think that's probably something you'll hear from everyone. He had a very dry wit, but he loved to have a laugh. And we spent some great times, and actually a mate of mine said that it was the second gig that we did in Norwood, at the Norwood Hotel. He said he looked up and Chris Bailey, and the Angels, they're renowned for not smiling on stage, obviously Rick certainly, but everyone, and he said he looked up and Chris Bailey was nearly like laughing. So he got the joke about me. He realised that the lunatics had taken over the asylum.
So he's pretty much the nice guy, rock and roll. What do you say?
Yep.
Absolutely. 100%.
I feel strange, you don't want to change for no one anymore. There's a perfect world, it's in my dreams, I see it every night. No winners or losers, but harder accusers when I'm winning along the right. Forgive me if I'm weak. I'm getting old, I'm not getting lucky. Yeah. We all breed for money, glory and fame. Something is missing, we're trying to play the game. Where is the answer? Show me the way. There ain't enough love in the world. when I see this song more, too many years made up in my mind. Oh, shit, right to my dying day. I don't when I see it never ends the line. Too many years in all my mind. Fast set of wheels and backbone of reggae. I sing you know all the backbone of reggae.
I'm here with Mark, the main man from Diesel, and he's going to tell me about some of the antics that he knows of Chris Bailey.
Antics. Oh, you know, what goes on the road stays on the road. I met Chris in '88. Of course, I was familiar with the Angels and Gajang. I guess when I was touring with, I was already in Jimmy's band for the Freight Train Heart towards this Jimmy Barnes, and I just crossed the Nullarbor from Perth, and Chris joined the band as a bass player. And Jimmy was super excited about getting Chris. I think he'd always really wanted to get Chris because he was such a great rock bass player. So that was when I met Chris, and I was very green at that time.
Fresh
green
to the
horn.
scene.
Yeah, fresh off the boat. And I just remember thinking, God, this guy is like the most gentlemanly musician I've ever met, and funny in the most dry sense of humor, and just so understated, and just always like right on the money with very few words. And that's how I always remember Chris, with never having to use too many words, but being right on the money.
Like a really concise kind
absolutely,
of guy.
and making us in stitches with his dry sense of humor, and just in the same time, without being abrasive in a kind of a bitchy way. He was like someone who I imagine wouldn't be able to hurt a fly. He was just the most beautiful man.
No, it seems to be the sentiment of everyone tonight. He's a real gentleman, but also a great muser as well.
Absolutely. Great sense of melody, and there's two of my favourite rock bass players. That when I think of him, I think of a bass player in the Pretenders, and Chris Bailey. Both had that real weaving through the song and making a subtext.
Yeah, flowing through, filling the gaps.
Well, yeah, I think bass can have a real subtext to it, and not necessarily just be, keeping the bottom end down. And people like Chris kind of had that way of having a subtext to the whole song. If you listen to the bass line, it's actually another song going on inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just a natural kind of guy at it too.
Yeah.
Those words never change, yeah. You will mess right. Taking out my love has become no long. So I pitch you out. Guess I'm gonna get to you. When it all comes together, be it all kinds of weather. You know I was have a place in my heart. With love of a woman and love of a man, love is gonna keep us alive. Yeah, when it all comes, and there's no change, there's no pain. Everything within its place just makes it harder to believe that she won't be around.
I'm sitting here with John Brewster, part of the quintessential Australian rock family, the Brewster family, and he's had a very successful night here at the Chris Bailey tribute. So have you got any cool stories about Chris Bailey? You're in a band with him for a very long time. There's got to be some stories you've got to mention.
Yeah, well, there are lots of stories, but one I'm sort of liking talking about at the moment is when I very first met him, because I went to St Peter's College, he went to Prince Alfred College, and we were rival schools, and we were at cadet camp, of all places, up near Whyalla. And this is like, we're getting old, so this is back in the 60s. It's about 66, I think. And somebody came into our tent and said, there's a guy with an acoustic guitar over in the Prince Alfred camp. So I went, okay, let's go. So we went over there, and there was Chris. We ended up singing Beatles songs together. I
became friends with him, but not close friends, because we just kind of went different directions, and every now and again we bump into each other, and headband would be playing, or Moonshine Jack and String Band, we might be on the same bill, and it was always, hi Chris, nice to see you. And then he joined the band in '76, and when Chris joined the band, Buzz joined just before he did, and then he came in. All of a sudden we had just unbelievable rhythm section, and he's an incredible player, and I'm not really telling stories about him, but I want to talk about his playing. For years I've called him the unsung hero of the Angels, because bass gets maybe a little overlooked, but he just was a wonderful player, played with a whole lot of people over the years, so we're very privileged to have him with us. Now I've got my son Sam's playing bass, and Chris gave him a big blessing, and kind of handed the baton over because he had to. But through this period, my son's got to know Chris pretty well, and so it's affected Sam too to lose him, and we're all very sad.
Absolutely.
It's life, isn't it? Something's going to get us one day, but way too young for Chris, and he's got a lovely 3-year-old son, Ollie, and that's what tonight's all about, really. It's really about Ollie, and it's about Chris, but it's about Ollie and Josie, and doing something to help the process of him growing up. And he's got a lot of that. He's got a lot of Chris's characteristics, so he's going to be a beautiful fellow, I reckon. Well, he already is.
Well, tonight has definitely been deemed a success. It's great to see such a collaboration of Australia's finest rock acts coming together for one person, It just goes to show that rock and roll brings everyone together.
Yeah, it does. We're a great fraternity, and I just made phone calls and everyone said yeah, And the thing is, I felt it was really, really essential to do it in Adelaide, because this is the town where all these bands, Cold Chisel, the Angels, you could say Gajang, because 4 out of 5 Gajang came out of Adelaide. Robbie James and Jeff Stapleton and Buzz and Chris, of course. And then, of course, Swanny, and Swanny great tonight.
Yeah, he was on fire.
And it was just like this, all these friends, and Will was a very, very close friend of mine. It was nice to have him here, and of course he was brilliant as an MC.
Great MC, yeah.
James Reyne we got to know really well. It's funny, we've been together, this band, for so many years, and what we do is we, like ships in the night, we pass each other and go, oh hello James, and you don't actually get to know anyone. But we did the Day on the Green shows, and James played all those with us, and we got to know him, and he's a great guy, and he put his hand up and he came over here. He was supposed to fly back to Melbourne, but the plane got cancelled, so he's back at the hotel now, which is great. I mean, great from our point of view. We'll see him again. But and then you look at the Adelaide. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
I've never seen the Thebby like that before. It was so alive, and the vibe out there was crazy.
Well, the last time the Angels played the Thebby, I wasn't there. I was in a hospital bed. I just had a quintuple bypass.
Whoa.
And I'm thinking, well, you know what I went through? It was a pretty big operation. There's nothing compared to what Chris has gone through, and they couldn't save Chris. They could save me. So I'm just an incredibly lucky guy.
Well, as I said, tonight was a great success, and I'm sure Chris's family is very appreciative, as are Adelaide fans who turned out in their numbers tonight. And thanks for putting on such a great night.
Oh, it's fantastic. But as far as I'm concerned, I was just a little bit of a catalyst. I'd maybe made some phone calls, and but all these people that just jumped on board, like the theatre here, I mean, it's gratis. Everything, even the staff, there was no costs at all. So,
it seems everyone went above and beyond, really.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all the backline, all the amps, the drums, etc. from Grum, and the production, Overtech for the production. And I'm sure we've thanked people and forgotten somebody. And that's
everybody
what happens.
knows. Everybody knows.
But I'm overwhelmed, and I grew up in this town, and it was a wonderful town to grow up and very exciting. You know, people sort of laugh about Adelaide and say it's a city of churches and it's boring and all that stuff. It's not at all. You just got to get to know Adelaide. You got to get into the soul of Adelaide, because it's always been fabulous for the arts, and I think it still continues to be. I mean, look at you people. You know, you're doing it. It's great. I mean, I've been to your place there with the cars getting fixed up, and you know, and
the Babe Warehouse.
Yeah, and the great bit of architecture that's going on there with the rooms and
handmade walls.
But I just think it's great. You know, I mean, I went to Flinders University and studied filmmaking myself.
Cool.
And I just had great memories of doing that, and running around with what was it, Bolex, I think, camera and stuff, and taking some
vintage. That's really cool.
We did a little movie at one stage. And, you know, in Adelaide was just happening, and I believe it still is. I'm really, really happy to be back here. I'm living at Victor Harbour, and boy, am I talking a lot.
That's all right. It's good, but it is proof though that Adelaide has produced just a number of talented musicians. Look at tonight. I mean, it probably was about 90% Adelaideans.
Yeah,
so,
it was nice to have Diesel over here with us too.
Yeah, that was awesome as well.
He's a great guy, you know. He's got that subtlety in his playing I love, you know.
Yeah, all round a great night, and I'm sure Chris Bailey was looking down and thanking all you fellas, because you probably were his second family.
Well, Chris knew about it all. You know, he knew exactly, who was coming tonight, and Triple M got right behind it. He knew it all. The tragedy, of course, I mean, it is a total tragedy, but it's a pity that he just didn't make it for this, because 3 weeks ago he said, I'll be there. He said, I'm feeling great, and then it just
extremely
hit
sudden.
him, and just down he went fairly quickly, which in a sense is probably a good thing for him, you know. But sure, it's hard without him. It really is.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, there's a lot of us that feel that.
Yeah.
And we all do. I mean, all these.
But you guys have definitely done a great thing tonight for his family, and I'm sure they really appreciate it. So thanks for talking to us, John.
It's a pleasure.
when the night has come.
South Australia, Adelaide, the rock capital, awesome. Yourselves feel proud. And if David Hasselhoff, yes, if David Hasselhoff sings this song anywhere that you are, John Brewster said, sing. History. See your face again. Am I ever gonna see your face again? 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 Sorry to turn our backs on you, but could you all look really excited while we do this? We've obviously choreographed that really well. Sorry, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you. Happy birthday. To Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, Adelaide salutes Chris Bailey. Give it a